Today I'm going to attempt to forge out a blade on the anvil instead of doing the stock removal method. I think I am ready for it. The last couple knives that I've made, I did hammer peen finishes on them, and I was able to manipulate the steel the way that I wanted to, including after putting the hammer peens in and then hitting the bevels to straighten it back out worked the way that I planned on in my head. So everything went according to plan. So now I think I'm gonna add in the next step that I feel that I'm ready for. And I figured we'll give it a go and stream it live. And I'll be able to repost this later on. But this way, if people see it and you want to provide any input that you may have from any experiences that you have, I'm all for it. I love learning new things. To me, this is all part of the learning process. I have been enjoying making knives now for 4 years. So tune in. Now all I gotta do is just set everything up.
Here I am moving the anvil over from where I keep it in my garage into the area that I'm planning on using it. This mobile anvil setup I got off of YouTube, and there are two poles that I have that stick down through eyelets near the top of the 4x4 pieces of wood and go down into a 90-degree elbow. That's just pipe fittings. It makes it real easy to lean the stand over and wheel into position. And then when I'm ready to use it, later on you'll see me unscrew the pipe fittings to get them out of the way. Moving the forge out from its home, of course everything that I have is pretty mobile so that I can put it away and keep everything straightened up. A lot of times part of the problem that I have is that the garage floor is not the most level thing in the world. So I usually have to finagle a bunch of things around in order to get them sitting straight. Just using a lot of manual energy here to get everything where I want it. I even tried painting some marks on the floor where when I found a good spot for everything, but of course they ended up getting rubbed off. Here I'm unscrewing those pipes and just set those off to the side. Getting ready to get the forge all warmed up. Of course, all you gotta do is just open a valve up, open up the regulator, and set it on fire. Now that everything has been warmed up and at the temperature, I got the piece of 1084 steel in the forge and warmed up. Tang side first. And here I am just trying to straighten it out since one end of this piece of steel was a previous cutoff. Just place the cutoff section on the edge of the anvil to try to get the tang isolated out and straightened out. And of course, not burn myself. Thankfully, I haven't really burned myself yet. I've gotten things hot through my leather gloves, but that was manageable. And of course, with it being nice and flat, it's really hard to get up off the ground. After I get it back into the forge, get it back up the temperature, and continue work on the tang area. All I'm doing at this point is just trying to get everything straight, flat, stretch it out a little bit. This one got nice and hot. Hit it a little harder. Ended up getting some good movement on this heating cycle. And of course, trying not to let it get too cool from everything that I've seen. Don't want to induce stress fractures. On this heat, I ended up fighting with the tongs a little bit. I need to get them adjusted more correctly. And after a few whacks on this cycle, I realized that where I was trying to hammer down the isolation area for the tang, that I was using a section of the anvil that I'd rounded over after I got it. So I moved it down to an area where I didn't round it over a little bit for drawing out, and it really made a big difference. And I don't have any really fancy hammers, maybe someday. This is the good old cheap store brand of cross-peen hammer. It works. In this cycle, my goal is to try to draw out the tang a little bit. So on the opposite side of the anvil, where I have it rounded over, I'm using that to, not really sure what the correct term is, to pinch it and hit it and draw it out a little bit, and then get it flattened back out and everything. This cycle I flip it over and do the same thing that I did on a previous cycle and hit it half on, half off. Try to get the tang drawn out evenly on both sides. Put it back on a flat, try to keep it all nice and straight. And then as it cools off, just get it back in the forge. This is the first cycle where I start working on the blade itself. I tried tapping the tip down and I went half on, half off, which I think for this part here is incorrect. Of course, being able to go back and look at it and evaluate the things that I was doing, I'm pretty sure this was wrong. Here I am still working up toward the tip area, trying to get it down. I believe to get the tip down, I should have had it on the flat of the anvil and hit the top corner to push it down. In the end, I know I'm going to be able to correct it, post heating, but it's good to reevaluate yourself. All I'm doing in this cycle is continuing to try to work the tip down in a fashion where I think you want to get a curve downward toward the edge and then when the bevel is being worked on, you can hammer back up into position. You can even see me there basically contemplate everything I'm doing. More work up toward the front. Just trying to not overdo it, I guess. Don't think I'm really swinging the hammer all that hard, all that quick. I know my technique will definitely need some work. On this heat, I think I realized that I have some fish lips going on. So I go down toward the edge and start hammering about where the bevel is going to go to see if I can get it to straighten itself back out. Of course, you'll see in the end this doesn't work, but you know, you got to try something. So on this heat, you'll see that I pick up a ball peen hammer instead of the cross peen hammer. I was kind of, I think, a little desperate on getting some movement of the steel. So now I'm hammering back where the flat's going to be a little bit and toward the spine. And I just want to get some downward movement, some downward curvature so that when I get to hammering the bevels, it'll flatten itself out and straighten itself out. And of course I do like the texturing. I put the knife tang first back into the forge and heated the tang back up, trying to gain a little bit of width on the tang so that I can utilize a different set of tongs a little bit better and provide some grip so that it's just easier to handle, easier to manipulate. And here I am testing them out, making sure they're good. Because I was using them before, but they were sliding up and down the tang because they weren't thick enough. So if I can get just a little bit better grip, just moving everything around will be so much easier. Here I am just trying to clean up the ricasso area from trying to straighten out the tang the previous heat. Just trying to keep everything uniform. And then of course you'll never guess what I do. Again. Drop it. You know, why not? Why not try to burn the crap out of myself? Surprisingly, it seems to be a little difficult on picking this up. Especially when you try to burn yourself again. This time after I get it up, if you look at the blade, you can see that it's actually curved downward toward the edge. When I hold it up to check here for straightness, right there. Yeah, in my head, that is exactly kind of sort of what I was hoping to gain with the ball peen hammer. So that on this heat, I can start hammering the heel and where the bevel's going to go, and start trying to work that downward curve back up straight, and get the bevel hammered in a little bit. And still not the prettiest thing in the world, but you know, it'll get there. Still trying to work on the bevel, get them hammered down, get everything straightened up. Some of the articles and videos that I've seen, you know, the guys that have been doing this quite a while, you know, seem like they do this very effortlessly. But that just has to be years of experience, lots of practice. And here you can kind of sort of see that it's starting to straighten itself out, which is thankfully what I was going for. And then, you know, you gotta contemplate life a little bit, look at it. Maybe by looking at it, it'll just straighten itself out and I don't have to do anything. Nah, I decided it just needs to go back in the forge. Continue work on the bevel, trying to get the taper down, keep working it. Trying to take my time, trying not to overdo it, because I don't want to go too hard on something and then, you know, you can't put it back. Just check it for a little bit of straightness, just to make sure that I feel comfortable with where everything's at. You kind of see that the edge is now pretty much straight. It's not, it's pretty close, you know, could even be close enough. Just looking at it, getting some self-evaluation going, thinking about where I need to go next. More contemplating of life.
So it's not pretty. I had a fish lip, I think is what they call it, going on up here. But there's enough material here where I can straighten this out. I did get some movement downward toward the edge using the ball peen hammer to move down, and then might be a little hard to see, but there is I did get a taper in from spine to edge. It's really hard to see in my camera. Might be able to see it up here in the front, but there is a taper, and it drew out wider. It started out as 2 inches wide, and I now have it 2 and a little over a quarter. So there's material enough to work with it to clean it up a bit. This area over here, I did see where you draw the heel down first, which I did. It did go toward where the handle's going to go a little bit. I mean, I'll be able to clean that up in the grinder. This area up here is where I try to put round the top down toward where the tip's going to go, and then bring it back up, which didn't work as well as I'd hoped. But I did Move metal. The handle area, yeah, again, it's got to be cleaned up. But I think if I just keep practicing and keep, practicing and practicing, I'll get it. Yeah, it is tapered. It is drawn out more because it started out as about 8 inches too, and right now it's about 9.5. So there's plenty of room there. And at this point, the way that I feel about this is I got movement. I hammered in the bevel for the most part. Again, it's still, I may not clean up the bevel at this state because when it cools off, I'll measure it. Hopefully I got the spine from 1/8 to at least 3/32, and then this one thinner, it looks good. It looks even thickness all the way down. So I think the only thing that I would do before the heat treat is clean up where the edge is going to go, finalize the profile, finalize the handle area, which I'm going to do a hidden tang on this, and then but the bevel area I'm going to leave pre-heat treat because it looks like it's tapered well enough, and then post heat treat, clean it all up, get it all good, looking pretty. But yeah, I was wishful it would go a little bit better, but again, practice makes perfect. So really giving this a try. I've only done a couple things with heating it and doing things on the anvil. Nothing to any great extent, but it kind of gives you an appreciation for the guys that have been doing this a while, and they have been heating it and beating it on anvil, for many, many years, lots of practice. They've gotten really good at it. It kind of wears you out a little bit like that. I'm in Central Florida, so it's already warm, even though it's only April. Get the forge going, close the garage door to try to keep some of the noise out with neighbors and cars going by, and helps with the coloration of the steel. So yeah, it's pretty tiring, the pros that do it, and they have all the good tools, a power hammer and a forging press, because it's their full-time job and that's what they do for a living. Being able to do that without wearing themselves out, I think is probably key for those guys. Me just being a hobbyist, you learn to have more appreciation for those guys that have built up their muscles and everything. But yeah, hopefully this will be a good video, and I'll be able to look back on it and learn from it, being able to analyze maybe my own video and see how everything goes. Yeah, when I put this up there, I hope people will see it, maybe get some tips, replies, things that they don't like. It's not going to hurt my feelings by any means, because I will take any information I can get. And if anybody in Central Florida that might be a bladesmith that wants to give a guy, some tips and pointers, that would be really cool. Meet somebody that actually does this on a bigger routine than I do. Doing a stock removal method, I kind of maybe get one knife out every month. I've done less than 60 knives in 4 years. Actually, I think this one will be number 60. But so far I'm still liking it, even if this is discouraging, to help build up any tool and improvement I may want. The stock removal method will help that. Folks that have had my knives for almost 4 years now, still haven't had any complaints about them, which is great. It makes me feel like I've been doing the process correctly. They have even gone to the point in saying that they feel like they need to be sharpened, but they always forget to bring it back to me because they're still usable even after 4 years. They all have a nice patina on them, which one of the pictures that one of the gentlemen sent me for the patina that is built up, I actually used my knife care instructions as a picture as, hey, this is okay and this is not. Where I had another gentleman not take care of his knife, and the old brown bad stuff was building up on the side of his blade. I did clean it up for him. It didn't look as pretty as it did when it started, but it was usable again. It was kind of heartbreaking because that was my first and only knife I will do to a mirror polish, because with the patina, it almost doesn't even matter. So, yeah, hopefully folks find this interesting. It's still fun to try to do new stuff. Yeah, just let me know. I'm just a hobbyist, want to grow. Thanks.